Christian How To, take 80, action. Hey everybody, Pastor Aaron here with our next installment of Christian How To, straight from the YouTube search line. So, today's autofill topic is Christian How to Love Yourself. How to love yourself. So you're here wondering, how do you love yourself? Maybe you don't. Maybe you find yourself hating yourself or a piece of scum or whatever, right? And we can fill that with lots of different things, but we can also fill it with lots of appropriate things. And so to get there today, I want to share with you a bit of my story, okay? Now I'm 48 years old, grew up in the church, grew up in a pastor's home, for goodness sakes. And yet I had this idea of never being good enough, of never being worthy, of always, I just felt really bad about myself. And I would try to ignore that with lots of bad habits, right? And maybe you have some bad habits too. There's lots of things to choose from in the world to distract ourselves from the way we feel about ourselves. But I think I'm coming to a good place in my life right now, and I'm going to share that with you guys, and hopefully it can help you. Now, I find that how to love myself isn't really love, it's respect and value. How to respect myself and how to value myself. And I find that in being responsible for myself, for my growth, for my family, for the world. I take responsibility for the suffering in the world. I pick up the responsibility and I march on. I value myself when I act, think, believe in ways that are congruent, right? Because if we believe one thing and act another way, we won't value ourselves. We will hate ourselves because we're always warring against one another. Now, like I said, I often warred against one another, but I think I'm coming to a good place. Now, this is a place of value and self-respect, okay? We find purpose and value in our overarching narrative. And here's my overarching narrative. If you want to use fancy words, your meta-narrative. My meta-narrative is that all people, myself included, are created in the image of God. Every person that's ever existed, thumbprint of God. So that gives me inherent intrinsic value, and it does you too. That right there is a great start. Now, what I do with that is where it gets, tricky. What I do with that inherent intrinsic value is where it gets a little bit problematic. Because if I were to just, stay in my parents' basement until I was, 48, eating pizza, playing video games, and being an unproductive, uncouth, not useful person, I would have no self-respect, no self-value, and I would hate myself. I wouldn't love myself at all. However, on the other hand, if I can take responsibility for myself, and I can take responsibility for raising my children in a way that is good and productive and valuable to them, if I can take responsibility for my thoughts and my actions and the words that I say, the thoughts, the deeds that I do, and taking responsibility for the suffering in the world and trying to alleviate it in some way, then I value myself. I'm sitting right now in this stairwell of the house that we bought. Now, I find that very, I'm proud of that, right? I'm proud of that. It's a terrifying thing to buy a home, but I'm proud that we did, okay? Because I took responsibility to provide a home here. Now, back to purpose. My purpose in life is to be a servant of King Jesus, right? God has sent Jesus to reveal God the Father, to bring the kingdom of God, and to give us all that way to be truly human, okay? Now, if I go searching off some other way, if I act in ways contrary to that, I will not value myself, I will not love myself, and I will hate myself and do lots of self-destructive things. But if I act in accordance with that meta-narrative, that overarching story, if I act, think, say, believe in ways that are congruent, and I act consistently in that way, I value myself. So I guess what I'm saying to you is, what's your overarching narrative? You have to have a purpose. The beginning of valuing something is having a purpose, okay? That's why so many people don't value art. They think, oh, well, okay, that's great, but what's its purpose? You know, somebody bolted a bicycle tire onto a wooden stool. Big deal. And so they don't find it valuable, they don't like it, they don't love it, they throw it aside. Where other people see value in it. In your life, to love yourself, in my way of thinking, I've got to be more than a bicycle tire bolted onto a stool. I've got to be a walking forward, responsible for myself, my actions, and my thoughts and deeds, and making a difference in the world in some small way. And then I can respect myself and like myself. This past year, I have really started trying to work on myself, to grow a little bit more every day, to improve myself. Right now, I took the Jordan Peterson personality inventory, and it said I was neurotic, which means I dwell on negative emotions. Right? They impact me hard, and I ruminate on them. I think about them. Oh, remember when that happened? Or, oh, and it diminishes me. And it's a behavioral thing. And so I've been trying to change my behavior. And you know what? I'm happy with that. I value that. I love that I'm doing that and moving on from that. I don't want to be neurotic and laying in bed at night thinking about, stewing on things, losing sleep. Or if I'd only said that, if I'd only done that. That's not a good way to live. Okay? So that's how I find love in myself. Of course, I find love from my God, my family, my friends, neighbors, all of these other things. But I respect myself enough to receive that love. And that's what I'm going to invite you to do. You have to respect yourself enough, value yourself enough to say, I am worthy of the love of family, friends, God. I am not a piece of trash. Okay? And I'm not going to give you little tricks of whistling in the dark, high-fiving yourself in the mirror. No, this is hard work. And you're going to have to do the hard work on this. This isn't, of course you won't say ugly things to yourself. You won't negative self-talk, because you can make those come true. But what responsibility are you carrying? What purpose are you fulfilling? Are you diminishing yourself with unnecessary actions, thoughts, deeds? Are you operating in a way that belittles you and others? And when you do, you will not like yourself. You will hate yourself. You will do drugs and booze and porn and relationships and spending money, shopping, gambling, trying to fill that hole that you have in your heart. We've all done that. We've all been there. And so, how are you going to love yourself? Respect yourself, value yourself. Do not diminish yourself. Act in a way that's congruent, continuously, on a consistent basis. Improve yourself. Then you can say, you know what? I'm worthy of the love that I have given to me from family, from God. It's good. I can bear that. And then I can go out and love someone else. All right. Hope that helps. Talk to you next time. Cut.